Hi, I'm Zach Holyoak with Saddlery, and today we are going to put together a 4-pocket credit card holder with a double hand stitch. To make your card holder, we'll need these supplies. We'll need your patterns, we'll need your stabbing awl, a number 8 stitch marker, a round knife, wing dividers, a piece of canvas with a little bit of beeswax, a ruler, good pair of scissors, a point knife, a glass slicker. We're going to use number 1 edger, 2 Saddler's needles, some glue, and some 46 nylon thread. So what we'll do is we'll take we have some nice goat leather here that we're going to cut and make our card holder out of. So we've come up with some patterns to use for this. So we're going to lay them out on our goat hide for the back piece. We're going to trace the back end and the sides. And then we're going to take it, we're going to line back up, and we're going to flip it. We're going to trace the sides, and the back piece, and the side piece. Okay, so now you've got it a little bit longer. It's going to be doubled now. So after I get this traced out, I'm going to start tracing out my pockets. So when you get to the sides, tracing them out, you want to give it just a little bit more off this pattern. You want a little bit more overhang, so just add another 1/8 inch to them. So why we're adding onto the edge is with the softer leather will stretch on you a little bit. So it's better to add here and so you can trim it off later. We'll just give us a little extra room for that stretch in those. So we're going to cut 2 of the inside pockets, and then we're going to cut 2 in the outside pockets. Same thing with the outside pockets. You want to just give it just a hair more than what the pattern asks. So I got my patterns all laid out how I want to need it. So now we're going to go ahead and start cutting these out. I like to use my scissors on this. So we're just going to take and start cutting right on the lines. When it comes to the pockets, like I said, remember that you want that extra on the outsides of those tabs or on the sides of your pockets. So there's the back piece. So on your inside pockets, we'll cut these nice straight top lines. Okay, so now on here, what you want to do is you want to take your point knife and you'll want to cut your little tabs. And there is a turn to these little tabs. You want nice crisp turns to them. After you get it all cut out, it should be the exact shape to the pattern. So we got our back. We've got our 2 inside pockets. We have our 2 outside pockets. Okay, so from there, we'll take these inside pockets and the outside pockets, we're going to flip them over. We're going to take our round knife, and on this very bottom tab, we're going to skive this down and along this edge to the other side, the other tab, both sides. So these inside pockets should have a nice bevel to them on this side, or on your sides, your bottom tab, and your other side, not the top side. So if you didn't have a round knife, a safety skiver or a number 925 skive knife would be a good tool to use, and a French edger would be an excellent tool to skiving these edges or beveling these edges. So on the outside ones, we're going to skive both short sides and 1 long side. And you want these bevels down on the edge, almost paper thin. As thin as you can get them, the better. The bevels are about 1/4 inch in and down to into paper thin. So since we get all our pockets skived down, we'll go ahead and we'll work on our back. We're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this and fold it in half in on itself to make the back piece of the card holder. What I like to do on here too, because you don't want a whole lot of glue floating around on these, I'd like to take my finger and get it pushed around nice to the edges. Let it have a nice even coat to it. So after your glue gets all nice and actually tacked up to where it's not sticking to your finger, we're actually going to take, we'll fold it right in half on top of itself. And what I like to do is like to take my glass slicker And I like to slick this edge in. Get it nice and crisp. So now your back piece should look like this. So from there, what we'll do is we're going to take our back piece pattern again. These are spaced out. There's some little notches on this pattern. They're right around a 1/2 inch down from the top. We're going to go ahead and mark these in. These marks on this pattern are your inside pocket marks. So what these marks do is when you come to put these inside pockets in, it'll help you line them up so they're even straight across the top. I'm going to come in and I'm going to lay my pocket in. I'm going to come down to the bottom of this pocket where this tab is, and I'm going to draw the long side and the short side on the pattern. I'm going to mark where the end of these tabs go. So it should look like this. You should have your top mark from your back pattern, the bottom mark from your pocket, and then your bottom marks for your tab marks on the bottom of your inside pockets. So then what I'll do is I'll come in between these two lines and I'll take my guppy or point knife and I'll scratch where these need to go. With scratching the leather, it helps the glue have something better to bond to, especially if you're working with oilier leathers like goat. It won't like to stick as good. So what I'll do is I'll come back in, a little bit of glue on my finger, and less is more in this situation. We'll take the inside pocket, we'll do the same. On these outside tabs of the pocket, we'll put a little glue. The bottom tab, we'll put a little bit of glue, and the other side. You want a nice and even coat. So when these are all ready to go, you'll come in with one side of your pocket and you'll line it up to your mark. You'll bring your other side to your mark. So this should set up your inside pocket. So now onto the outside pocket. The inside pocket pattern also has marks on it for your outside pocket. So we'll want to make sure we get those drawn in there too. So then it'll be where the top of your outside pocket goes. So after we get those, I'm going to do the same thing from that line. I'm going to scratch along the edge, and everything that we had scratched, we're going to glue. Then on our outside pocket, same thing. We're going to put glue on those 1/4 inch bevels that we created. So we're going to come in with our outside pocket. We'll come, same thing as our inside. We'll come right to those lines that we've created and grab our slicker. Slicker, if you got a piece of antler or a nice smooth piece of wood at home that's polished, would be a really good tool for the same thing to replace the slicker if you guys don't have one. Okay, so now it should look like this. We have our back piece and we have our 2 pockets glued to the front piece of it. So now all we're going to do is we're going to repeat the process on the back side. So we got our 2 pockets on this side, we've got our 2 pockets on this side. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a mark in along the sides for our stitches to go in. We'll go ahead and start stitching it. For my mark for my stitches, I would say no more than 1/4. If you go over the 1/4 inch mark, you'll actually end up making the wallet too small for your cards. So now we got our mark in here. Now we're going to take our number 8 stitch marker. We're going to come in right on top of that mark. All right, so now we moved over to the stitching horse. We're going to get it locked down in place where we need it. And then we're going to go ahead and take our awl. We're going to come to each little stitch mark and start stabbing all the way through it. When I'm doing this, I'm only using so much of my awl. I'm not going all the way through with it. The more you use your awl and go through, the more chance you have, more likely you're going to spread your hole out. So I'm going to get a few of these stabbed, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to start stitching in behind me so it keeps everything aligned together. So when I stitch these, what I like to do, we'll take our 4/16 nylon thread, and I'm going to give it about 2 arm lengths, as far out as I can. So we have 2 needles on both ends of the string. So now I'm going to start, when I start sewing, you're We're gonna go through, we're gonna grab both needles, we're gonna pull this string out so we have middle. Okay, so now we're even. We have both our needles in one hand, even in the middle of the string. So now I'm gonna go through the one side, and I'm gonna bring the other needle through that same hole. We're gonna pull it snug. And then we'll just repeat the process from here. One needle and the next needle through the exact same hole. Make sure you're swapping hands or swapping needles between your hands so you don't get it mixed up. So I've taken my thread and I've run them through the bottom of the needles, and you actually can take and you can twist them. Do not, I like to have a little bit longer tail and to twist them together. So now we're getting down to this, our very last stitch. So I'm going to come through with my sewing needle. Okay, I'm not going to pull all the way through, I'm going to leave a little bit of a loop. I take that sewing needle off. I'm going to leave that loop on the front end. Now I'm going to come from behind with the other sewing needle, pop through the hole. Okay, I'm going to pull the back one taut. I'm going to bring this one forward with the loop. Okay, I'm going to take this back one and I'm going to loop it through that loop 3 times. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it nice and snug, and that tightens off and finishes it with a knot on the inside of your leather that you won't see. So now we're done stitching it. We're going to come in, we're going to take and we're going to burn the little pieces off so we have no strings floating around. Now from after we're burning our strings off, we're going to go ahead and trim this up, start making it look really nice. So I'm going to come in with my ruler and I'm going to line it up with the edge of the back piece. You can see how your pockets overhang. So I'll take my knife and I'll just make a nice clean cut straight across. So it's nice and flush. We got it all nice and trimmed up how we want it. Now we'll go ahead and we'll take and edge and burnish this. So we'll take our number 1 edger. We'll just knock off these sides. And on the edger, the smaller the edger actually is better. When you're edging it, I found that it's easier to go from the back forward so you don't catch your pockets and end up cutting your pockets on accident. So we have it all nice and edged now. Now what we'll take is we have a piece of canvas here, a little bit of beeswax on it. And we're just going to take and start slicking up these edges. So the leather that we're using for this, it doesn't have any moisture in it. It's already got a natural coating of oil in it, so it actually helps slick up the edges. So after you get it all nice and slicked down, you're done. So from there you can go ahead and start putting your cards in it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Shop Talk for more videos like this.